Hi guys, we are in week 8 in our freshman online English class. So this week you are doing Springboard Activity 2.5 and 2.6. Pay close attention to the announcements and make sure you go through that and answer all the questions I've got there. You can copy and paste this into a Word document and then email it to me or do it on the Blackboard site, whatever is easiest for you. The first assignment, Activity 2.5, is mainly focused on symbols. So symbols are something that the author says, like words that might represent something else. So first, your first question is just when you see the words fire and ice, what literal images come to mind? So if you're thinking of fire, literally what do you see? I see like a campfire or flames or things like that. So you're going to write down your literal what you literally see when you think of those words. And then also, what are some ideas that you might associate with those words? Like for ice, I might associate ice with like a cold person, like somebody who's really standoffish and doesn't really like to talk to you. So those words have literal meanings and they also have figurative or symbolic meanings. That's what the author's talking about, or that's what we're talking about when we're talking about symbols. So there's a couple questions here that they want you to go through and tell me or answer the questions what the literal meaning is and also what the figurative meaning is or what it could symbolize. So there's an example here on number 2 for you. It says, her icy stare let me know just how she felt. So she's not literally staring ice at you, right? Or literally turning you into ice. It's like figuratively makes her feel like she doesn't like hearing what you have to say. She's like not a person who likes you. That's what where the iciness comes from. So there are a couple more bullets that you guys, where they give you a sentence and you guys analyze it. What does that mean when they use some of these words symbolically? Okay. And then there's also a poem. It's called Fire and Ice. That's why all the fire and ice references. Very short poem, but I want to read it to you because we read poems in a certain way. We don't just stop and pause at the end of a line. We still pay attention to the punctuation. So don't pause unless there's a comma or a period. So this poem, it's by Robert Frost. It's called Fire and Ice. It goes like this. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if I had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to know that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. So that last stanza there is actually one full sentence on its own, but notice I only paused for the period after the word twice there. They want you to practice reading that poem on your own. It's short, so just read it out loud to yourself so you can kind of get the feeling. It's kind of hard to read poems because you want to pause when you shouldn't be pausing. And then you're going to answer some questions on that poem. So just like you answered some questions on those sentences, telling me what symbolically it might mean versus what it means literally, you're going to do the same thing with that poem. All right, so there's 7 questions there. I want you to answer all of them. And then there's a check your understanding portion. So it wants you to write an interpretive statement. It's right here on the bottom of page 97 in your Springboard Activity 2.5. Wants you to write an interpretive statement. What do you think that poem was about? What do you think Robert Frost is trying to say? And there's actually a template here, and there's also a template at the very bottom. You're just going to basically finish the sentence. So for the check your understanding, you're just finishing this sentence. In Fire and Ice, Robert Frost suggests that. What do you think he's suggesting? What do you think he's trying to say with this poem? What do you think he's trying to get across? So finish that statement. Then we're going to move on to Springboard Activity 2.6, where we're going to learn about irony. So the big thing is irony. It does mention tone. Tone is just the words and the word choice the author uses to try to, like somebody can have a really cynical tone or somebody can have a really like uplifting tone depending on the words they choose. And you can describe the same thing, but using different tones, you can make that thing sound really bad or really good. So word choice is really important with tone. Then there's irony. Irony is when you expect one thing to happen, but something else happens. So you guys are going to read this story. I want you to note on here, you are only doing the graphic organizer and then the writing prompt at the end of this. So you're not doing 1 through 3 on the Springboard Activity 2.6. But you are doing number 4, which is this graphic organizer, and I've got it in here in the announcements for you. So you're going to go through, and as you read The Gift of the Magi, you are going to look at some literary elements. So one is symbol. So look at what symbols, what might have a symbolic meaning. Look at some imagery. Remember, that's when the author paints a really descriptive picture, really paints a picture that you can see in your head. Figurative language, and we'll talk about this one in a second because I actually did an example for you guys. And then also you're going to look at tone or theme. So tone is the word choice that the author uses, and theme is the lesson. What are they trying to teach you in this story? So you can do either one of those. So as you read, you're going to find the text detail. So you'll find a text detail that has a symbol in it. Then you are going to tell me what is the effect of that symbol or the meaning of that symbol. What is the author really trying to say? Or with the imagery, give me the text detail or details that have the imagery in them, and then tell me what effect does that imagery have on us? What does that help us to do as the reader? All right. I did figurative language. You'll notice when you get to a part in the story where the wife is shopping for a present for her husband. I don't want to give too much away. It's hard not to give too much away, but I also want to give you guys an example. She uses some figurative language. So I wrote this in here. I did an example. I want you guys to do your own example too, though. So my example is, she said, the next 2 hours tripped by on rosy wings. So the hours can't literally trip by, but she used that to kind of convey how quickly those hours passed for her as she's shopping for this gift. They just went really fast because she's like really trying to look for this perfect gift. So I wrote my answer there in figurative language. I still want you guys to do another example of figurative language on your own. So you're going to fill out this whole graphic organizer as you read this story, and you will like this story. There's like this great example of irony at the end. It's like double irony. And the story is just a little bit tragic too. Then lastly, you're going to do the writing prompt. So the writing prompt is after the story in your springboard activity. You will find it. You'll also find the graphic organizer after your story. You're not going to do the check your understanding, so don't worry about that. But the writing prompt, you are going to kind of practice writing your own little short story. So remember, we're writing our short story that we kind of started last week for our embedded assessment. You're going to pick a scene that is not described in this story. So you can either do when she cuts her hair, or you can do when he goes and buys her present. All right. So I don't want to describe them too much because I want you guys to read the story and find out what those unseen scenes look like. But you guys are going to write a 3 to 4 paragraph story about what would have happened. How would the story have been if it included when Della went and got those clothes, or those the gift for Jim, or when Jim got her the present he got her. So, sorry, when Della cut her hair, that's what I meant to say. So pick one of those scenes that was not described in the story, and you're going to write 3 or 4 paragraphs describing that scene, what would have happened. Make sure you're really descriptive, so use some imagery, all right? Make sure you, like maybe there's a little conflict there you can set up. Introduce the character, so who else would have been in that scene? Who's another character who would have been involved in that? And then also make sure there's some dialogue, all right? So, be working on that. If you need some help, I'm always here, so please feel free to come see me or email me or call me, and make sure you get all those assignments in so you stay up and on track, all right? Take care, you guys. See you next week.